Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our devotions that we do each day, our daily devotions. This devotion is being prepared for Wednesday, February 9th of 2022. And we are just starting the second chapter of Matthew's Gospel. We're going to look at the first 12 verses. So Matthew chapter 2, verses 1 to 12. And I may or may not divide this into two parts. We'll try to watch the calendar here and see how long we get. If it gets too long, I will cut it off and finish tomorrow. But let's jump into it and see if we can't get through it in a day. This is the visit of the wise men, or the magi. In the time of King Herod, after Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea, wise men from the east came to Jerusalem, asking, "Where is the child who has been born King of the Jews? For we observed his star at its rising, and have come to pay him homage." When King Herod heard this, he was frightened, and all Jerusalem with him. And calling together all the chief priests and scribes of the people, he inquired of them where the Messiah was to be born. They told him, "In Bethlehem of Judea. For so it has been written by the prophet, And you, Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, are by no means least among the rulers of Judah. For from you shall come a ruler who is to shepherd my people Israel." Then Herod secretly called for the wise men and learned from them the exact time when the star had appeared. Then he sent them to Bethlehem, saying, "Go and search diligently for the child, and when you have found him, bring me word so that I may also go and pay him homage." When they had heard the king, they set out, and there ahead of them went the star that they had seen at its rising, until it stopped over the place where the child was. When they saw that the star had stopped, they were overwhelmed with joy. On entering the house, they saw the child with Mary, his mother, and they knelt down and paid him homage. Then, opening their treasure chests, they offered him gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And having been warned in a dream not to return to Herod, they left for their own country by another road. Okay, first thing it's important to realize is the positioning of Bethlehem, or the direction of Bethlehem. Bethlehem is not far from Jerusalem, so it's 6 miles. So it's very, very close. It's like the suburbs, basically. So it's a very close area. This is, of course, where they kept the flocks that were for the sacrifice, and the temple was in that area. That's where they had the shepherds. In Luke's rendition, we have the shepherds in the field watching the sheep. And of course, this, though, is later. Jesus is not as young in Luke's or Matthew's rendition of the birth order here. I can't talk, apologize. Jesus is probably close to 2 years old. We'll get to that as we go through this. He's not a brand new babe like he is in Luke. Okay. The star, though, and who are these wise men? So they've come after the shepherds. That's important to remember. Who are these wise men? That's the question I want to deal with first. They are the magi. They are priests. They are priests of the Zoroaster, I believe, and this is the theory that I ascribe to. They are Zoroastrian priests. They have come from the area where the exile when people were put into the exile and they were taken to Babylonian. They were the Jewish people living in amongst these Zoroastrian people. And there was some interchange of information and beliefs between the Jews and the Zoroastrians in that time frame. Definitely there were some changes in Judaism at that time. Post-exile and pre-exile, there are some differences. So there are some things that have been adopted from the Zoroastrian religion, and apparently they've made some impact on the Zoroastrian priests, because some of these prophecies that the Jewish people have been watching for, these Zoroastrian magi, these fellows here have been watching. They're astronomers. They've been watching the skies, the stars, and they've seen something that is, they believe, believe correctly, is an indication that the king of the Jews has been born. They don't know exactly where he's supposed to be born yet. That part they didn't have, but they're following the guidance. And what is the star? Well, I don't really want to get into that. There's a lot of different theories on what the star is, and so we can go all over the board on that. But these guys, they are, in my opinion, they're Zoroastrians, and they have come to worship. So this is a symbolism of Jesus reaching beyond just Judaism. He's reaching out to the whole world. These would have been considered Gentiles to the Jews, of course, because any Gentile would be anything except for a Samaritan, because Samaritans are different. and then anybody other than a Samaritan or a Jew. The Samaritans are the ones that are the worst of all. We'll talk about that later, though. So that's who I believe the Magi are. They followed a star. What is the star? Whether it's a comet, whether it's a planetary alignment, or whether you want to think some people think it's a spaceship. I don't go there myself by any means, but some people come up with some pretty crazy ideas. But they have followed whatever this was that they have seen as a prophecy, and it's brought them to Jerusalem, where they ask King Herod. Now, King Herod is sitting on the throne as a Jewish king, but he's not really Jewish. He's been his family has converted. He's partially Jewish. He's not of the family of David, so he's not one of the line of the kings of Israel or Judah. So he realizes that, so he's a little nervous that there might be a king born that is the real king, the line from the line of David, and that would be a problem to be a descendant of David in that area at this time and later, especially later. But at any rate, so he's nervous about this when he finds out about it. They didn't know any better than to talk to him, which was unfortunate, but they tipped the hat, so to say, and so he sends them away. Well, the priests tell him, well, they're supposed to be born in Bethlehem right over there. Just you say that little thing, that little dot on the hill over there, that's where he's supposed to be born. So they go look for him. Come back and let me know. You're not like you're going to be traveling for days. At 3 miles an hour, that's just a 2-hour walk from the one city limits to the next. So come back and tell me so I can go and worship him too. Yeah, right. So I can come and kill him, so I don't have this contender for the throne that I want to occupy. So they have gone and they find him. Through the signs, they find him and they present him with these gifts. They give him gold and frankincense and myrrh. And it seems like strange gifts to give to a child. Well, those are very common gifts for kings and deities in that time. That's what people would bring to temples for temple worship, for the pagan gods, or to bring them to kings. Gold is, of course, a kingly gift, and then frankincense is, they call it, a priestly gift. And then we have the myrrh, which we look at it as the translation being that it is a spice. So it is foreshadowing Jesus' death and that he will have to be prepared to be buried in the tomb. So that is what basically is going on with the gifts here. And Herod, of course, has ill intent. So the wise men, once they have come and they have prostrated themselves, they have worshipped the child, and they've given the gifts, and once their time they're worshiping this child that they believe is going to grow up to be the king of the Jews, they have been warned off in a dream. It's another dream. There's dreams coming up here. We have dreams. Joseph had a dream of just last time talking about the birth of Jesus and that he needs to keep Mary and not drive them off. And now the wise men have been warned in a dream, don't go back to Herod. And of course, this is going to lay the groundwork for what comes next. There is some differences between Luke's gospel and Matthew's gospel. Mark doesn't have a birth story, so that's different too. But there is some differences there. Don't let that burden you. One thing we don't want to do is conflate the two, because that always used to drive my mentor Jesse insane. He always hated that in his home he had a Lucian and a Mathenian. He called him a crèche, a manger scene. Crèche is another word for manger scene. And he had one with the wise men, one with the angels, and the shepherds. Because here we don't have angels and shepherds. We just have the wise men. So he always hated that because they were different time frames. You have a brand new baby and you have the older baby, maybe 2 years old, here in Matthew's gospel. And it doesn't, and we don't have anything about Mary storing these things up in her heart here. That's one thing we have that's different as well. But I guess I'm going to leave it at that. We got through it. We made it, and I didn't try to break it in two. So praise God. If you enjoy these devotions, even with my stuttering oftentimes, and my ADD and all of that. Please like and subscribe down below. And if you want to leave a comment, please leave a kind comment. Don't be mean to me. I don't need that. Have a blessed day, and please, please, please be a blessing to someone today. We'll see you tomorrow. We start talking about the escape to Egypt tomorrow. Bye-bye.